There is a stretch of road southwest of Chicago where, for nearly a century, motorists have reported encountering the same young woman. She appears late at night, usually walking alone along Archer Avenue. She is young and unusually pale. Her hair is light. She wears a white or cream-colored dress that seems completely out of place beside a dark, busy roadway. Sometimes she stands near the shoulder and signals for a ride. Sometimes she suddenly appears in front of a moving car, and according to those who claim to have stopped for her, the encounter always ends near the gates of Resurrection Cemetery, where the mysterious passenger disappears. Chicago has accumulated countless ghost stories during its long history, but none has become as famous or as persistent as the legend of Resurrection Mary. The story is a variation of the vanishing hitchhiker legend found in many parts of the world. But unlike most stories of its kind, Resurrection Mary is associated with a very specific road, a real cemetery, a former ballroom, and decades of alleged encounters. Her territory lies along Archer Avenue, an old route running southwest from Chicago through communities including Justice and Willow Springs, Illinois. Today, the area is surrounded by traffic, businesses, and suburban development. But earlier in the 20th century, portions of Archer Avenue were far more isolated. The road passed through forest preserves, wetlands, cemeteries, and stretches of sparsely developed land. At night, it could be dark, quiet, and lonely. Near this road stood the Oh Henry Ballroom, later known as the Willowbrook Ballroom. During the ballroom era, young people from Chicago and the surrounding suburbs came there to dance beneath glittering lights while big bands played late into the evening. According to the most familiar version of the legend, Mary was one of those young dancers. One night, sometime during the 1920s or 1930s, Mary attended the ballroom with a boyfriend or a group of friends. During the evening, an argument took place. Upset, Mary left the ballroom alone. Still wearing her dancing dress and shoes, she began walking along Archer Avenue towards home. She never made it. Mary was reportedly struck by a passing automobile and killed. Her grieving family buried her in the white dress she had worn on the night of her death. Her grave, the story claims, was inside Resurrection Cemetery. Not long afterward, drivers began seeing a young woman wandering along Archer Avenue. Some motorists said she appeared confused or stranded. Others described her as distant and strangely quiet. When offered a ride, she supposedly asked to be taken in the direction of Resurrection Cemetery. The driver would continue along Archer Avenue, sometimes attempting to make conversation with the passenger. But as the vehicle approached the cemetery gates, Mary would suddenly vanish. No door opened. The car never stopped. One moment she was sitting inside the vehicle. The next, the seat was empty. That is the basic legend. But over the years, Resurrection Mary has been credited with several different kinds of encounters. In some accounts, a young man meets Mary inside a dance hall. They talk, dance together, and eventually leave in his car. As they travel along Archer Avenue, she asks him to stop near the cemetery. Then she disappears before his eyes. In other stories, drivers see Mary walking beside the road and pull over. When they look again, nobody is there. The most frightening encounters involve motorists who do not have time to stop. They see a woman in a pale dress suddenly step into the roadway directly ahead of them. The driver slams on the brakes, convinced that the car has struck her. But there is no impact, no body, and no evidence that anyone was ever standing in the road. One of the stranger chapters in the legend developed during the 1970s. A driver reportedly contacted police after seeing a woman trapped inside the gates of Resurrection Cemetery. According to the account, the woman appeared to be holding the bars as though she could not get out. By the time authorities investigated, she had disappeared. Some versions of the story claim that 2 bars on the cemetery gate were found bent, with markings resembling the impressions of human hands. The damaged section became a local curiosity, and the supposed handprints were photographed and discussed for years. There are ordinary explanations for damaged metal, of course. Vehicles, maintenance equipment, vandals, and weather can all affect an exterior gate. But within the legend of Resurrection Mary, those marks became physical evidence that something had attempted to pass between the cemetery and the road. The identity of Mary remains the greatest mystery. Researchers have examined records of young women who died in accidents around Chicago during the period when the sightings allegedly began. Several possible candidates have been proposed. One frequently mentioned name is Mary Bregovy, a young woman killed in a car accident in 1934. Her age, appearance, and first name seem to resemble parts of the legend. Reports from the period also helped connect her in the public imagination to sightings near Resurrection Cemetery. But Mary Bregovy was reportedly buried elsewhere, and important details of her death do not perfectly match the traditional story. Another proposed identity is Anna Mary Norcus, who died in an automobile accident in 1927 after an evening spent dancing. Her story contains some of the familiar elements: a young woman, a ballroom, and a fatal journey home. But once again, the connection is circumstantial. Other women have also been suggested, and the details change depending upon who tells the story. No grave inside Resurrection Cemetery has ever been conclusively identified as belonging to the woman behind the legend. It is possible that there was no single Mary. The story may have developed from several real accidents involving young women during an era when automobile travel was becoming more common and considerably more dangerous. A report of a woman walking beside the highway might have combined with the story of a fatal accident, a late-night dance, and an unexplained encounter near the cemetery. Over time, separate tragedies may have become one story. There is also another possibility. Resurrection Mary may simply be Chicago's version of a much older folktale. Stories about mysterious passengers who vanish from moving vehicles have circulated around the world. Often, the driver later learns that the passenger died years earlier near the location where she was picked up. Folklorists call this the vanishing hitchhiker motif. Once people know the story, ordinary experiences can begin to take on its shape. A driver briefly sees someone in pale clothing at the edge of the road. Headlights reflect from a sign, a plastic bag, or drifting fog. A pedestrian turns down an unseen side street. The mind fills in whatever the darkness conceals. But that explanation does not fully account for why the stories continued for so long, or why some witnesses appeared genuinely shaken by what they believed they had seen. The Willowbrook Ballroom survived long after the big band era and remained an important local landmark until it was destroyed by fire in 2016. Resurrection Cemetery still stands along Archer Avenue, and drivers still travel the road after dark. The surroundings have changed. The traffic is heavier. The lonely stretches are shorter. Streetlights and commercial development have pushed back much of the darkness. But the legend remains. Perhaps that is because Resurrection Mary is more than a frightening story. She represents a world that has almost completely disappeared. Crowded ballrooms, orchestras playing late into the night, young couples traveling dark country roads, and a time when a white dancing dress could become the final detail by which someone was remembered. Whether Mary was a real woman, a combination of several tragic lives, or simply an enduring piece of folklore may never be known. But for generations of Chicago area residents, the possibility remains that somewhere along Archer Avenue, a young woman is still trying to complete the journey she began nearly a century ago. And on the right night, a driver may look toward the shoulder of the road and see her waiting. Pale dress, light hair, one hand raised, asking for a ride home.